Hi everybody, it's Josh Rubin, joined by my friend Mark Pattison with Porchlight Realty in San Diego. Mark and his team are one of the leading producers in all of San Diego County. Mark is on to a banner start to 2020, even in the face of all of the uncertainty and the volatility in the equity markets. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mark, can you tell us a little bit about sort of your background, where you got started, and how you started Porchlight?
Yes, so I moved to San Diego because of the weather. So I said, I'm done living in Chicago, and I'm originally from Seattle. And so I picked San Diego solely because of weather, and I said, I'm going to become a real estate agent. So I got my California license when I moved down here. And ever since then, was a solo agent, was on a team, started my team about 3.5, 4 years ago, and just been going along ever since. So it's first time in real estate, though. I never did this before.
Wow, that's incredible. So solo agent, and then you joined a team because you saw that was sort of the trajectory of the business.
Yep.
And how long were you on that team for?
I was there for a year.
Uh-huh.
So I became the number one agent quickly, and then decided I think I could do this. Well, actually, I was at a Tom Ferry event, and a girl in front of me heard me speaking, and she's like, we should build a team together. So we formed a team that day, and all of a sudden I became here with 1 year of real estate business experience. So it was a little early, but it worked out.
And so you started that team with this young woman in front of you, and talk to us about the experience of that sort of first year and the bumps in the road and mistakes that you made and how you overcame them.
Oh, definitely. So between where I'm at now and if I looked back and had to start over exactly where that was, I don't think I would do it again. So round one or version one of the team was completely different than what it is today. When you were running a team, I felt like I was just doing this out of I had no idea what I was doing. One, I didn't have much experience for myself. I think I had listed maybe 3 or 4 properties on my own. And I had a team where we started buying and selling properties and listing properties in San Diego. And I really didn't have much insight, but I had a good surrounding base. So I had really good vendors that I could ask questions to and my team could, rely on. But from that original team, there's not one person left. It's been version after version. And now it's been the team that's here today has been here for a good 1.5 2 years of the same people. We add people, but people rarely leave.
Yeah. That's interesting. So what do you attribute that to, specifically in terms of the team's loyalty and the length that they've been with you in this version of it?
There's people on my team that are making, a few people on my team that are making over $300,000 take home themselves. So they know without Porchlight and without the team and the culture, they're not going to do that somewhere else, even if they've been in the business for a while. So they love the systems, the way that we run our huddles. We keep people accountable. I think it's very hard if you're a solo agent. There's only a few of us that want to be just go, go, go all the time. A lot of us need accountability.
So it's a question of accountability and also having each other's back, it sounds like.
For sure. So, for example, one of my agents went to the hospital. He got in a mountain bike accident probably about a week ago. And he calls me at 11 o'clock at night. I don't know why I was awake, but I still was awake and answered his call. And he's like, Mark, I'm in the hospital. I don't know what happened. And sure enough, he ended up having a bunch of appointments the next day. And within 20 minutes of me texting the team text, all of his appointments were covered. No commission splits, no sharing money, no paying anything. It's just, hey, we got your back, man. And so he's one of our top agents. He's like 1 or 2 on the team right now. And everyone covered all of his appointments, including myself. I went on a final walkthrough with one of his buyers for him. So it's just everyone's got each other's back. It's really that family community. I think that's why people stick around.
That's remarkable. And what were some of the biggest mistakes that you made in the first year of having the team?
Not knowing who to hire. So definitely I feel like when you hire someone now, you know a little bit more about what to look for. You still don't know what someone's work ethic is going to be. But when you're starting out, I feel like it's very hard to characterize who you want your team to be. So if you're a solo agent thinking about starting a team, I would really reflect on teams that you respect in your marketplace and look at the characteristics of the agents that are on their team. So we have core values now that we follow. No one ever broke those too much before, but it's just, ethics, the honesty thing, that's a must for our team. But it's hard to know that before when you're interviewing. You can ask someone if they're ethical and they're going to be like, yeah, I'm ethical. You don't really know what actually happened when shit hits the fan, for lack of better words. But when they get pushed and shoved in different ways, and when commission checks get involved, so that's just one of the things that we really stand to is ethics and honesty, telling the client what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, really future pacing the client and understanding the process, sticking to our processes, because if it's streamlined, man, our system works really well. But if you don't follow our systems, it's going to mess everything up. So yeah, it's really systematized and it's been working great for us.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the systems specifically?
Yes. So we'll sell almost 350 plus deals this year, and we have 2 transaction coordinators and no admin. So that right there, people are like, what the heck? So we have no admin. 2
transaction coordinators and no admin?
Nope. So everything we do, I mean, we're just really streamlined with doing everything. So when you go on an appointment, we're showing our buyers, which in our price point, it's a little bit easier to do this. And I know in the higher price point, it's a little bit hard. You're not going to show a buyer 3 houses and have them buy something. Our buyer cycle is like you meet them and you're probably going to have them in escrow in the next 2 weeks. So our lead and our conversion is super high. And with that being said, our price point's a little bit lower, but I prefer a lower price point with quick turnaround time and tons of referrals than a super high price point that doesn't move and groove. So and that's where we've been really focused on. For example, like listing appointments, we don't need a listing coordinator, because if you go on a listing appointment, you bring your lockbox in your hand, you show up, they're like, well, what's that for? And you say, well, that's what I'm going to put on your door when I leave. You already got it there. You text the sign company when you leave the house, and there'll be a signpost in their yard the next day. Just really quick. We partner with really good vendors to where our marketing, we don't necessarily have to do. We have templates set up. So we can just go on our lender's template and type in 123 Main Street, upload the photos real quick, or have their team do it. And we'll have open house flyers or property flyers within seconds.
Wow. That's incredible that you've gotten everything, down to a science practically.
Yes. And it's funny is like, there's teams that have a very high admin staff. I think like a low price point, you need to have a ton of admin so the agents can do insane volumes. But my agents, there's a girl on my team that'll do 52 deals this year.
Wow.
And she has a newborn.
And she has a
newborn baby.
A newborn. Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Her baby's probably 6 months old, and she'll do 52 deals this year.
That's fantastic. And Mark, talk to us a little bit about your sort of lead generation and where you find most of your business is coming from.
So we are a huge fan of online leads. I think it's important that you track and measure. Some people hate Zillow and Realtor.com, and they have different viewpoints on it. For me, I found out that Zillow wasn't as high of an ROI. So I took my Zillow spend and I moved it over to Realtor.com because my ROI was so much higher. It's super important to track everything, each zip code, because some zip codes, if you buy a cheap zip, you'll end up getting a bunch of cheap leads, like mobile homes in San Diego. And no one loans on them. It's a pain in the butt. We just don't deal with it. So if you don't focus on where your leads are coming from, you're going to start hating that lead source. But if you really focus on price points and going through it, so Realtor.com, we do a lot of online lead generation for home buyer seminars. Yeah. So one of our main, so probably of our 300 and something deals this year, we'll do probably 150 military. So San Diego is a huge military presence. That's going to be our number one buyer side. And then now also, because our team's getting a little bit more experienced, those buy sides that we were doing a couple years ago now are turning into listings. But I would say the majority of them are going to be a military buyer.
That's great. So predominantly Zillow and Realtor.
Yes. And online lead gen, we would do through Facebook. We do Ylopo. Mm-hmm. So any lead that comes into our system from into Firepoint. So it's Firepoint Ylopo, front end, back end. The user sees the Ylopo side. The agent sees the Firepoint side. So where you log all your CRM stuff. Lead comes in through Realtor.com, hits that system. It then starts targeting them and sending them ads on their Facebook and on their Google. So they see us all the time. So I think that helps our conversion. Also, it redirects them back to our site. So there's an AI with Ylopo that'll text them and say, hey, you inquired about 123 Main Street. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath. Here are 3 other ones. And the computer actually pulls those 3 other ones and sends it to their email and to their text.
Wow, that's incredible. And that's all through Ylopo.
At Ylopo. And so you get a text back and it'll just say, hey, you're like this right here. I just got these texts this morning and it says, your lead, John Evans, just requested a showing for 219 B Street. And it tells me that this person wants to see this house.
That's incredible. Wow.
So it automates it for you. And I'm like, what's 219 B Street? Well, it's sent from my assistant because the Ylopo AI says, this is Mark's assistant. Here are some properties.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Huh.
I've had that AI on talking about technical difficulties. I've had that AI on and send it to my clients in escrow and they'll respond back, no, Mark's doing a great job. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta turn that off.
Yeah. You gotta know when to start and stop that AI.
Yeah. Sure. If the lead responds, it automatically stops if they say something. So that's good. But if you put a lead in there, like you met them at an open house or a referral, it'll just start going after them.
Yeah. I can imagine. What's your ROI typically on your total spend?
Very high. So my expenses monthly are probably, I think right now I'll have to look because I just got some discounts from COVID. I hit up every vendor for the discounts. Even though we were still crushing it, I was like, might as well take advantage of the 60% off
Sure.
Realtor.com. Right now, I think our expenses are around $15,000 a month. And our net before taxes is about, the last 2 months, maybe almost 200 each month.
Okay, got it. That's a pretty good return.
Yeah, it's good.
About somewhere between about 15 times or something like that, 12.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good returns. Our Realtor.com's lead spend is only probably right now about $10,000 a month.
Got it. Cool. That's great. And so here in New York, we're pretty impacted by the coronavirus and COVID-19. In fact, the stay-at-home order is still in place officially through May 15th, but I spoke to somebody that is fairly plugged in both to the local and federal level government, and he was saying that it might be June. And so with that, buildings are not permitting non-essential work. So if you say buy an apartment or buy a home here in New York, you're probably going to want to refinish the floors. You're probably going to want to paint. Not many of them are super turnkey where you can literally bring a toothbrush. So you're going to want to do those things. And some of our deals that are in contract, people are trying to push it out until they can actually do the work that they want to do because they don't want to have to pay for something that they can't live in themselves, which is understandable. So our market has been pretty impacted by it because we can't show homes, we can take listings, but we can't show the listings. It's even difficult to get photographs and floor plans done. So, when you shift that to San Diego, has there been any impact in your market from the coronavirus?
Definitely, as a city and county wide, there's been an impact. I think its sales are down 40%. Mm-hmm. But our team is up because I felt that all the one-off, two-off agents that just sell a few here and there, they're out. So because of that, our team is really picked up. And also I feel like anyone looking to buy or sell a house right now is looking to buy or sell a house right now. They're not just looky-loos. So our team personally has not been impacted. When we first got all the news of everything that was happening, I kind of was a little scared because I've only been an agent in the good times. I didn't know what it's like to hustle. So I hustle, but I don't know what foreclosures are like. I don't know what short sales. I didn't know what to do. But with my coach and everything, we talked about it, and sure enough, we just kept putting them in escrow one after another. And then I was looking at the data for the city, and I noticed that the sales for the whole city were down, but for some reason our team was up. And I just put that too as like, my team had reserves, so they weren't worried. We're not living paycheck to paycheck. So if we don't make the sale, it's going to be okay. So financially, my team is super stable individually and as a team. So we weren't worried about what was going to happen next. So we just kept working. I think that fear and worry can ruin everything. Families, teams, your work ethic, everything, because you just have a pit in your stomach. And if I've set my team up that if you get a new car on my team, we frown upon it. So when you show up with your new Tesla, which some of my agents have, we're like, oh, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
We're not like, oh, show me your new car. We're like,
right.
So I asked a couple of my agents, I was like, are you guys worried about coronavirus? And they're like, no. And I was like, why? And he goes, Mark, I have $260,000 on my checking account. He's like, I could not sell a house. He was like, and my bills are like $3,000 a month. He's like, I could retire because I've taught them to just live so frugal and just because you never know what's going to happen. And so I think with that, we weren't ever worried. And all of a sudden we're just still crushing it. So our teams are all like, a new girl on my team sold 6 houses this month.
Wow. And talk to us a little bit about your sort of ramp up for the new agent and what that looks like.
Yeah, so I had an online website. So what I found, because I have no admin, I don't have anyone to onboard them. So I found that I was going, hey, do you have a minute? Hey, do you have a minute? Hey, do you have a minute? And I kept being like, I got to do my own stuff. So I started recording everything and I put it all on a website. So when I have a new agent on board, I had it on a third-party website. That website kind of had some issues. So I'm redoing it on my own personal website where it's password protected. And the new people come on and just start going through all that information. Now, anything that I do that I teach to my new agents or my experienced agents, I test them. So if I talk about 1031 exchanges, better be ready for a pop quiz at the end of that meeting.
Yeah.
We'll do pop quizzes on team huddles. We'll do information about, so basically when they go out and into the field, they almost know everything about real estate. And I get compliments from other agents all the time about how clean people's offers are, because it's how often you get an offer and you're like, who wrote this? Like, did your broker never teach you? So before even they get into writing offers, they're sending me sample offers one after another after another. I don't even have time to review them half the time, but I want them to get so comfortable with writing offers that when they actually go to write a real one, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. So you're sort of teaching them from somebody who has success as an agent in that market, how to do things right. You've recorded these modules in such a way so that the new agents, all they have to do is plug and play the modules. And, it's sort of like, what DJ De La Sala down in St. Augustine, Florida the other day told us about running plays that work. So you're essentially teaching them the plays. These modules serve as the playbook, and you're saying, hey, here's how to be successful here in San Diego. It's just, plug and play.
Yep. And we already got the systems in place. I can say, if you do this, you will make X. It's math. And we've got the system so well done. Like I talk to DJ and Lindsay every single day. So that's another thing, surrounding yourself with amazing people that can help bring you up. I think that's why I got here so quickly, is all the Tom Ferry people that are so free with their time and willing to help. And in return, I've done the same to them. I come across an amazing lead source or a new kind of entry. I'm going to say, hey guys, you need to call these people. And we share a lot of information. So surround yourself with good people. I think that's definitely a good tip. And then that plug and play thing is like, I can take any agent that's willing to work hard, add them in, and they're gonna crush it.
Awesome. And so going forward, once we get on the other side of this, as more and more states and counties lift the stay-at-home order, what do you think happens to the broader market?
I'm thinking it's going to be fine, but I am not an economist, so I don't know too much. Like I said, I was pretty naive. When I bought my first place when I was 20 years old, I didn't know the home values went like this all the time. That's how it was. I bought my first place in 2007 and the market went, whoop, but I kept on to it. And I think that's the same as like, there's always going to be sales, whether it's an up market or a down market. The good agents are going to be here to sell the properties. And, helping our clients, whether they're going through divorce, going through situations, which, by the way, that's a very good lead source right now, is divorce sales. We've had a ton recently. Not shockingly, it's because of the situation. And I think that's probably where we're going to just thrive, because we're going to be fine whether it's good or bad. So I haven't worried too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting. So you're basically taking advantage of this shift that you really kind of saw coming, and you're able to find these opportunities within it to make you and your team and the overall production and experience more efficient and stronger, so that you can come out of it stronger still.
Yeah. I mean, all of our vendors, because they work with multiple teams, they're messaging me every day, like, what are you guys doing? So, I mean, that alone to me shows we're crushing it. And
Yeah.
we're just going to keep going. It actually fuels my fire, knowing how well the team is doing, and the team is super competitive. So they're loving this. And I think that San Diego, I don't know, I think we have such a strong military presence here. We're a little bit different of a town. I mean, those jobs are so secure, and we're already such a low housing inventory
Yeah.
that I think it's going to be very hard for our market to shift. We're seeing multiple offers. Like every single house I sold in the last week, I probably sold 6 myself. And there's every single house I wrote an offer on and got accepted, they had multiple offers on that property.
Really? Wow. So is there a specific strategy that you're engaging to ensure that your buyers are positioned well so that they come out victorious in a multiple offer situation?
100%. It's very rare that I get beat. So schmooze all you can and schmooze the entire escrow process. And even if crap hits the fan, be very nice, because 4 years later, you're going to do another escrow with that same agent again. And like the way we write our offers, it's just very clean. We do the same offer template. So we order our appraisal within 24 hours. We put that on the contract. That's something that easily can be done. Might as well just make it really quick. So any seller just wants to make sure in San Diego, the buyer has 21 days to back out. Why don't we try to shorten that as much as possible so that the seller is more secure and they can move on, whether they're buying their next house or moving. And that's what we do with everything. We shorten every contingency period to a very short period as much as we can with the lender, and just a really clear offer letter. And we copy and paste it every single time. Talks about the job security of your buyer, because right now I think job security is just as or more important than the price. And we also talk about our team and how many we have pending and how many have gone canceled due to COVID and why. And we put the examples so that they know we're not having cancellations and we're still crushing it. And we put our Zillow link to show our reviews.
Huh. That's interesting.
So
you're basically not only conveying the offer, the sort of basics about what the number is, what contingencies there are, if any, who the buyer is, but you're including sort of, your background as well. Like, hey, here's who we are, here's what we've done, here's what we're doing, here's why it's working and what issues we've run into. And by the way, just in case you'd like to learn a little bit more about us, here's our Zillow profile.
Yep. And it's like, we know what we're doing. And they respond back and they're like, can I copy this letter? And I'm like, yeah, take it. I dropped off masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer to 2 agents, and I got my offers accepted. I'll do anything.
That's incredible. Really going above and beyond.
Extra mask? I'm like, I've got masks, gloves, booties, hand sanitizer. I'll make you a little baggie. Made them like packs of 10 for everything.
Huh.
Yeah. So anything to get my clients' offers accepted. But they did have the best offer too.
Well, that helps, right?
Yeah.
And so in those situations where you're seeing these deals go into contract or go into escrow over the asking price, is there sort of an average above the ask that you're seeing?
No, it's I would say it's at asking. If it's the first week in San Diego, it's at asking. Very rare are we going over a bunch. Of the 6 I just recently sold, only 1 was overpriced, like over asking. Huh. So it's not a ton. I know that in San Francisco and other markets, it's like 100,000 over asking, no contingencies. That's not the same. San Diego, it'll be, if it's like a $500,000 price point, that's just super entry level for a home here. So many people want that house that will go over to like 520. So it's not a huge over asking.
Got it. Just enough though to get the seller's attention.
For sure. And like the big thing that we write in there is a contingency saying, hey, if the home doesn't appraise, because we have appraisal issues, and if the home doesn't appraise, then we can come in with the dollar amount, writing that in the offer,
Yeah. So you're getting out in front of a prospective low appraisal by saying, hey, we understand that you're asking, $495. We're going to agreement at 520. And in the event that the house doesn't appraise, we're still willing to pay X amount.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, then we'll renegotiate, and the people really like that because you're future pacing the situation. I think the biggest advantage you can ever have with buyers, with listing agents, with your sellers is understanding the full situation and future pacing and communication. We give our clients updates every single day via email. I'll write my email updates to them every day while we're in escrow, at least every other day. Hey, this is where we're at. This is the remaining timelines. Because when you're out and about and you get those calls and you can't answer it and you're like, crap, that's my seller asking what's going on. Well, if you emailed them at 5 a.m, they're not going to really ever ask you because they just know you're going to get the next update the next day.
Yeah.
It's training.
Yeah. And so these are all written by you. It's not like they're not like templates and they're not auto-generated or anything, right?
No, they're all written by me. Yeah. So it takes a little bit of time, but we keep everything really streamlined. We have all of our escrows in a place where you can copy and paste the timeline super easy. Yeah. And a lot of times I'll just reference the previous email, and I have a big whiteboard at my home office that has all the dates up on a board. So I just look at it and I'll just like type the dates out as quick. It takes me probably 3 or 4 minutes for each email.
Got it.
I don't write longer than like 2 sentences. When I see a paragraph email, I'm like, God, why is someone writing that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes just short and sweet and to the point. Here's where we are, and you'll hear from me tomorrow.
And the more like effort you put into those things, the more they think it's serious.
Sure.
It's like termites done, the pest control report's back, we're good to go. And they're like, cool, thanks.
Yeah, that's all there is.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all they need, right?
Yeah.
And so, how do you find most of the agents on the team?
They all come to me. So through Instagram, through referrals. I actually had an agent on my huddle this morning. He's getting licensed. He's a bartender or a restaurant manager in the area. One of the top agents in San Diego met him through like a meeting, through something. And the top
working or something.
Diego, he doesn't have a team. And he's like, you should talk to Mark Pattison. So this kid Instagrammed me and said, hey, this agent told me about you. Would you be interested in chatting? And that's how this new kid came to me. And it's always through that way. It's just the online presence of people. And sure enough, as soon as that guy told him about our team, he started Googling us. He's like, man, you guys are impressive. So that helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Mark, I got to tell you.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I like newer agents. So I like people because I feel like if someone's more experienced and they're more experienced than myself, I sometimes think, one, why haven't they already been successful? Like, why do they want to join a team? Two, what am I going to teach them? Like, is this relationship going to be awkward? And so my favorite people are like bartenders, waiters, those types of people that just want to get into real estate and that are very coachable and just good people. And I can mold them into what we need to make them.
That's interesting. I've heard that before because these people are outgoing and, some of them might have an acting background and there is a degree of acting and presentation to what we do in terms of, just sort of putting on a show to a certain extent. I remember back in 2010, I was at a Yankee game with a old past client of mine, and now he's become one of my closest friends. And we were going through the process of buying a home for he and his wife and their kids. And I'm very patient with people that I work with, and I don't try to sell them one way or the other. But as they get to know me, they can tell that I'm not as excited about a home. And so he was sort of fatigued in the process. He had seen 172 apartments. Fortunately, the majority of those were before he met me. So I met him in the final sort of 25% or so of his search process. And together we had seen probably 15 or 20, which is still quite a few for an agent working with a buyer. I mean, you were telling me earlier that most of your agents can meet a lead and they'll show them 3 houses and they'll probably buy one. Well, in this case, I had shown this guy probably 15 or 20 apartments. Long story short, we found an apartment that sort of ticked all of the boxes as far as size, quality, location, value, etc. But he knew that I wasn't into it. I knew that he wasn't that into it, but he was just like ready to throw in the towel. So we made an offer. It was accepted. He did not sign the contract yet because, of course, in New York, we do due diligence in advance of signing the contract. And so when you sign the contract, there's no way to get out of it really unless you're declined for financing, which seldom happens in a normal market. And so, but I was still going through new listings every day because that's a habit of mine. Once or twice a day, I just see what's coming on the market, what's going pending, what's closed. And so there was a listing that came on the market, and it was absolutely perfect for him. I mean, perfect to a T, to the point where I was like, oh my God, this is the one. And so I had this inner dialogue with myself. I said, we're pretty far along in this other process. He's about to sign a contract. It's fine. Just let him do that. But then I said, you got to tell him about this because it's the perfect place. So I gave him a call. I said, Gene, look, I know you're happy with that place on 13th Street, but believe it or not, there's another place that is larger, has more light, is in just as good a location, and is more or less, it's within your budget, so we should go and see it. He said, no, all right. So we went and saw it, and you could just tell it was like a light bulb went off over his head. And it was like this aha moment where we had found the one.
Yeah.
And so he pivoted, and we started to focus on this other property, negotiated, got our offer accepted. So we're at the Yankee game, sitting next to one another, and he said, do you think it's worth it? And I said, Gene, to be honest with you, I don't think anything's worth it, but it's really about the value that you place in it, right?
Yeah.
And you can apply that to any market, because if you're in San Diego selling $500,000 homes, you could easily look back in time and see when that same house might have sold for $150,000 or $250,000. So, what something is worth is really only relative to the market that you're in. And yep. I'm not the market. You're not the market. Gene's not the market. But it's a question of what is someone willing to pay for an asset. And so, essentially, we're acting, or we're actors within the market, right? So we're facilitating and we're helping people get through the process, and we're helping them understand both where they are in the process and where the value is relative to the market.
Yeah, so, I agree with that. I get that question all the time. What would you pay for it? And I said, well, it's your home.
Right.
You're the one that has to live here. That's my favorite line. You're the one that has to live here. Do you like it or no? I always say that as well. It's not a maybe in my market, because just like you, we don't sign into contracts. Like, we're not committed to the home until later on. And I say, it's either yes or yes or no. There's no maybes in my book. And also, if you ever talk once about the countertops not being a reason you're going to buy the house, I'm going to shake you, because countertops can be changed.
Yeah, all that stuff can be changed. Paint color. I saw something the other day where the woman said that she didn't like a house because the color of the paint. I'm like, that's their paint. Do you like her eyeshadow too? Because that can change. So
yep. I say those things right on the line too, and I'm like, and they go, well, we want to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, hey, this isn't HGTV, but right. You are only going to get to see 3 homes, so you better pick one. I do that all the time.
This has been great. Thanks so much for taking the time out. One final question for you. We obviously know each other through the Tom Ferry ecosystem. We both have business coaches that have been phenomenal for us. But one question for you. Do you have a hidden talent that not many people know about?
Ooh, I don't know if it's a hidden talent. It's kind of weird. Is my family owns roller skating rinks since 1920. And so my parents have had roller rinks, and my family has had them for over 100 years. We have 7 of them. And so I'm a very good roller skater, which is very random. And all of the Olympic athletes are trained by my family. So anyone who's in the Olympics for ice, for speed skating, they all come from my family.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
So are you a competitive speed skater in your past?
I was until I was about, I think I skated in, when I was like 24, I was like, I'm just going to do this for fun one more time. And I won regionals.
Really?
I got back on skates, but I had not skated since I was like 12 competitively. Once I hit kind of that high school age, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm going to go have some fun. But yeah, I was competitive speed skater, ice, and inline speed skater. So, but I grew up with Apollo Ono is probably the most famous winter athlete from my dad. Junior Selski. There's a new girl that's coming on. Her name's Corey Stoddard. But basically, anyone who's famous in the Winter Olympic athletes in the ice speed skating world comes from training with my family.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so, where is your family based?
Seattle area.
Seattle.
So Pacific Northwest, born and raised.
Huh. Wow, that's great.
Too rainy and too cold.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. San Diego is definitely a different environment.
Oh yeah. No, when it gets to be 65 here, we're in jackets. So it's a little different here in San Diego.
Absolutely. Well, Mark Pattison, everybody from Porchlight Realty in San Diego, thanks so much for joining us today, Mark.
Thank you for having me, man.
You bet.